Hello, Cardinals fans. Welcome to the Redbird Rundown. I'm Jonathan, joined by Matt and Andy, as always. And in this episode, we're talking all things spring training as Cardinals camp has officially begun. This is the first week.
Wow.
Woo! Now we can actually talk about things that are happening and not just make things up.
Yeah.
Right?
Nolan Arenado on the team.
Yeah.
We wasted
Fact.
how many minutes of airtime did we just waste on Nolan Arenado?
I know. But before we get into talking about real things here, right? Spring training means that spring, consequently, is around the corner. Believe that or not.
Man,
Okay.
doesn't feel it. If you look at next
I
week's
know.
outlook in Southern Illinois, it's going to be another winter
Sucks.
storm.
Yep. But in the essence of that, right, and in the idea of spring hopefully coming soon, what do you guys think? What is your favorite? What is either your favorite season or like rate the seasons? You tell me.
Spring
What do
or
you guys
fall. And I feel as though I've said this before to my family. We went out to San Diego during the summer and getting on at the airlines at St. Louis. I think it was like 97 high humidity. And we got off at San Diego and it was like 71. And I looked at my wife and I said, why did our ancestors stop in Southern Illinois? Like, why did we just be like, you know
Very
what?
true.
This is good enough.
There
Like,
was a
just-
paradise down here.
Yeah,
and we
just
just missed
keep
it.
going.
Yeah.
Have you seen Fern Cliff though?
Oh, yeah.
That might have
Yeah.
been the reason they stopped. It's in
Could
all of
have.
its majesty.
Or maybe we had some farmers. Farmland.
Yeah, I don't know. So okay, so
Ferncliff is nice. Yeah.
hey, and there was no direct shot
no.
at Fern Cliff. I just thought,
It's
is it
not
worth
San Diego, but
is it worth
yeah.
settling there for? I mean,
Yeah,
probably
no,
not.
Yeah,
But
either way.
probably
So
not
yeah,
the first stage.
spring and fall. Anything I can have my windows open at the house, I'm all for it.
Okay, Matt, what about you?
This is the only right order that there is. Fall is number one for just it's cooling
Yeah.
down, it's beautiful, it's hoodies, it's bonfires, it's just so great. Summer's number two. I do not work in the summer, and so it's just luxurious and wonderful and amazing. For me, spring is third. Spring is like a mud pit to me. I do like the things are coming alive, but a lot of rain, a lot of precipitation. And then I don't mind winter specifically from like if I could just get winter from like Thanksgiving to New Year's Day, I think I would enjoy that, but then I'd need spring to be right around the corner.
Mhm.
I don't hate winter, but I am going to put it last just because I like it less than the other three.
Yeah, February sucks. Okay, let's just
It
throw that
does.
out there.
It
It is
does.
the worst because you have things to look forward to in November, December,
Yes.
and even January to a degree. But then you
Yeah.
get to February and you're like, this is time. I'm ready for this to be done.
I think February and March are the worst 2 months for that purpose.
Yeah, I only switched. Mine's the same as both of yours. I put spring second only because I'm with Andy about the weather, and I start to think about like baseball, and this is starting to come
Sure.
back again. That's the
Sure.
only thing. But
mowing.
summer and winter,
I think about mowing in spring. Here it comes, baby. Let's get on it.
I'm trying to get those Busch Stadium yards in my front yard. Busch
Yeah, you
Stadium
Oh,
are.
yards,
sure.
You
excuse me,
really,
lines.
listener, he really is. He really does. Honestly,
Do you want to know what the secret is?
Please.
you told me.
It's such a ghetto thing. I got on YouTube and I like found a way to put a welcome mat on the back of my lawnmower, and
Oh
then
my
just like the
That,
The
that
wheels-
bristly bristle stuff.
uh-huh, yep, they just like paint the grass down. Yeah,
that's unbelievable. And if anybody's younger listening to this is what you get to look forward to.
this is
You
what you
rea-
get.
You do.
Yeah, it is. Like you're fired up to be like, I'm gonna get my mowing done, listen to some podcasts.
Yeah.
Come back in.
Yep.
It's gonna be 9:30.
That's exactly what I like. Yeah,
I know.
here's-
Oh, I
here's
know.
The other thing is Michelle's not allowed to do the front yard because she ain't messing up my lines.
God forbid somebody drive down the road and be like, "Well, he wasn't out there." It was
Yeah.
somebody
no,
else."
nope. He was drunk on that one. Like, no,
Yeah,
we're
that's
just
right.
not having that. Yeah.
Last thing you need on that, Matt, you need to get the arch. You know
Oh,
how sometimes they
yeah.
do that.
I'm gonna have to watch some more YouTube videos. I
Yeah.
have no idea how to do that at all.
Yep.
Wow.
So okay, I think we're pretty good consensus. Fall is the best. I think we'll just leave it at the fall's the best.
Fall is the best. But as they say, baseball, spring has sprung.
Yes.
The boys are reporting to Jupiter. There is movement of the red cardinal birds. I guess there are no real brown cardinal birds. Those are the female ones, right?
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. Yep.
Yeah,
That's
okay. So
correct.
it's mostly red cardinal birds down there in Jupiter, Florida. Spring training is upon us as we're recording this, and then as this will come out the next day, pitchers and catchers have already reported. So what we want to do here is just try to give you like a spring training 101 or like a spring training primer. What matters, what doesn't matter, what are we going to look for, what should we ignore? just all the things like that. And so let me just start out, just open this wide open for discussion here. What are the main things that you look for in a spring training?
Yeah, I'll kick this one off here. I have a couple things written down, but number one has got to be exposure to newer, younger players.
Okay.
I think that's number one. You're going to see guys with like sometimes they wear the same numbers because they don't have enough.
Yeah.
So it's like
three number 91s.
Yeah, exactly. So you're like, which number 91 was the best? You're like, I don't know. Guys you've heard about. I remember like personally, you hear about Jordan Walker, like you heard about him for years. And I really had no way to watch him. But I remember seeing on spring, I was like, oh, that's Jordan Walker. You're like, oh, okay, I see. Now I've actually seen him. You're going to, like JJ Weatherholt is a name you're going to hear.
Yes.
You're finally going to see him play. That is by far in my opinion, number one. Fans have access to that.
Andy, what are you just kicking up off the top here? What are you paying for attention to in spring training?
Yeah, I think I did not coin this term, but I like it. I'm ready for the baby birds to come out.
Yeah, I like that too.
Did you guys see that Victor Scott II said that the team is Youngry?
Oh, that's hilarious.
He like tripped over young and hungry, and he put them together, and so like that may be the word for the season. We're Youngry.
Yeah, I think that's
awesome.
what when people around me, and for the listeners who don't listen to all the other episodes, I represent the casual fan more so than my two brothers, and that's what I'm just going to be like, yeah, what about these baby birds? Literally just going to use that term and give them a few people to look, just one or two people to try to get some name recognition, like we've talked about in prior episodes. So I think that's exciting to be able to actually see the baby birds out there.
Yeah, I think for me, as far as like the most impactful thing about spring is the injury fear kind of thing. And here's where I'm at. You guys, I mean, we all grew up right in the same area, and there is something about driving on ice to me that it just kind of like when the road is like a sheet of ice. And this may be just because last month we had a snowpocalypse and like I did this everywhere I drove for a while. You have this like constant tension of, it's almost like you get out of the car at the end and you're sweating because you're worried about slipping off the road the whole way.
White knuckled, yeah.
Yes, you're white knuckling it the whole time. That for me, that is the single most important thing about spring training, and especially these first few days here where pitchers and catchers report. I'm like white knuckle that Sonny Gray is not going to feel some kind of hesitation in his shoulder or something, because you really can't tell from the off season. They've done all their workouts, they've done that. Now they need to start throwing, and it's like the worst news in the world that somebody's like, yeah, their elbow's inflamed, and you're like,
yeah, we'll see him in July, maybe.
Yeah, slipped off the road straight into the ditch on the ice there. So that's the big one to me, is if we can get through this stuff with no injuries cropping up, is huge to me.
I couldn't agree more. And to that end, I listened to this is kind of a secondary point to this. If you're first, catching up on the Cardinals after the offseason, typically the first day of spring training, the manager and the general manager have like their very first like initial interview with the whole pool of reporters.
Yeah.
And I find that pretty fascinating to watch, as I've watched it the last couple of years. Just the tone that they strike in those interviews. So Marmol this year has come in, and a lot of the questions were, hey, does the team not going outside cuffed you at all? And he said, no, it's actually been the opposite. I knew exactly what they were going to do. So, back in November. So I know what I knew what to plan for months. We have our team. This is what it's going to be, yada, yada, yada. So it's interesting to hear him talk about that. But then he also talked about injuries. He said, has any of the pitchers felt good or not? And he said, basically, like you said, Matt, that's kind of our key here. Are we going to exit spring with a full, clean bill of health? We have all these other pitchers. As questions came in about Quinn Matthews and Graceffo and McGreevy, he's basically saying, listen, all those guys are waiting in the wings, but we've got to get out of here injury free. Right.
Yes.
So to your point, the manager of the Cardinals, they're thinking about just in general, the health of the club going forward.
Yeah. Well, welcome aboard, Ollie. Thanks for,
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
thanks for confirming my thoughts there.
Yeah, you guys are one and the same. But one more thing about Mo's section here. This was really interesting, and I'd encourage anybody. I found it on YouTube. The Cardinals YouTube channel uploaded both of these. It's about 20 minutes for Mo Zalox, and I think this last year, him being in his final year, he's a little more emboldened to say whatever he wants. I feel like, because he got a bunch of questions about Arenado, and I have never seen the guy be so truthful. Truly. Like he's not speaking in most speak.
Yeah, he is a
you know?
master of using like multi-syllabic words that mean nothing in a sentence.
Absolutely. So when people were asking like, hey, is this going to be awkward between you and Arenado? And he's like, yeah, probably. It's probably going to be. And I was like, wow, I can't believe he admitted that, And people ask, hey, what was basically what was the holdup? Because the whole theme of the conversation with him was, hey, you haven't traded Arenado. You have blasted this from the rooftops. What's the deal here? And you guys listen to it at some point and tell me what you think. But what I took away was he basically kind of placed the blame on Arenado. He gave me 5 teams that I could trade from because those are on his list. He has that no trade clause. I think it was the Padres, the Dodgers, the Red Sox, and the Yankees. He didn't mention the 5th team. He just mentioned 4. But he kept on going. Like Mozeliak kept going and saying, hey, he gave me these 5 teams. He has this no trade clause, and we had a deal, but he declined it. So it was fascinating to watch him basically place the blame on Arenado. And then when people are saying, hey, they'd ask, hey, is he going to show up to camp? He's like, well, we're all professionals here and we don't hold out in this sport. So yeah, it was just like the tone was so odd.
The tone was almost like a lame duck president who just doesn't care anymore. So he pardons his son.
That's exactly right. Very, very similar to just, hey, I'm here. I don't care anymore. And like, what are you going to do? Fire me? I'm already.
Yeah, right. Who cares? Yeah.
So that was really, really weird. And I have more thoughts about that later if we get into it, because I think that there's been some just kind of hindsight how we've handled this whole thing. But anyway, if you guys want to, and the listeners, get out there and listen to that, because it is interesting to hear the 2 big figureheads of the team talk when they first enter spring training. What are they feeling? What are they thinking?
Yeah. Well, the other thing that you hear all the time in spring training is like, quote unquote, this guy's in the best shape of his life. and I did mention that I did see Miles Michaelis looking like he could just become the Red Hulk at any moment in a photograph. Like he is looking pretty jacked. And then there's always like who went to drive line for the extra hitting help, who went to a pitching lab, who's made adjustments, who's learned a new pitch, all that kind of stuff. So that's just kind of fun to hear about in the spring. Sometimes that comes to fruition. Yeah. Like Nootbaar went to driveline and like added some velocity to his swing and kind of changed who he was as a hitter to add some power. Sometimes, Dylan Carlson says something and we all just laugh about it because it doesn't matter. It just never works out. Yeah. But I want to hint at this conversation and then hit it later on in this episode harder. And Andy, we'll start with you. What, like, spring training from the players doesn't not matter. Like how do you view that issue?
Sorry, you broke up just a little bit there.
Oh, I'm sorry. In terms of like in-game performance, like a guy exits spring training hitting 450. Do we care? Do we not care? What do you think?
The statistical, the average range, like there's just not enough at bats. And so what I have learned to key in on is find individual things that don't need a large sample size. For example, exit velocity off of the bat. Okay. As an example of a hitter, like if people up there, it doesn't, there's just not enough time for them to have a weighted on base average. You know what I mean?
Or batting average, OBP, stuff all like
that kind of stuff. There's just not enough time. But
if he's ripping the ball,
Like exit velocity is exit velocity. And then also with pitchers, if you want to look at pitchers, you can look at some of their breaks, like vertical, horizontal breaks, like spin rate. That's getting into the weeds a little bit. And, spring training, I think that people can just kind of relax a little bit, enjoy that we're seeing the players again, go see the baby birds. But there are a few things, but on the whole, no, there's just not enough time for them to like, oh, he's batting, 675. He's going to have a great year.
Yeah.
He could hit sub 200. You know what I mean?
I think that's smart. So you're looking for changes versus what we've seen in a player before, rather than he's hitting 330. He hit 8 home runs. Yeah.
Right.
I almost think you could trust the eye test a little bit more than like hard statistical evidence in spring training.
Sure.
Goldschmidt, this is like the opposite of this. Is Goldschmidt like was horrible last spring, and everybody thought, he's fine, he's spinning up. And the problems he had in spring training was exactly what happened to him all last year. He was a mile behind fastballs. He was chasing everything. And, again, people thought, well, it's spring. He's just working himself up into playing speed. And it turned out that was not the case. He was just bad. So some of that, when you look at the eye test, you kind of have to think maybe later on in spring, is Goldschmidt, like, is he okay? He's been bad for like 3 straight.
Why is he struggling? Right.
That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think that there are things you can look at, but I think, overall, I think you take almost everything with a grain of salt because sometimes you hear pitchers like, yeah, I only threw fastballs that game, so I can work on my fastball. Or I only threw slider. They do weird things to kind of get things ready. But as spring progresses, usually they're playing more innings to prep themselves for the season, which is a good way to start talking about some of the key dates for spring training. So pitchers and catchers reported just a few days ago on February 12th. The full squad is slated to arrive on Monday, February 17th, and meaning that next week here, or if you're listening to this later on this week, on February 22nd is going to be the first game. There are about 30 spring training games. Some of them are solo, some of them are split squad. And so, like Jonathan said, sometimes you'll see 3 number 91s in the game. Other times you'll see the regulars play, 6 innings to get ready. And all that, of course, culminates on opening day, March 27th, against the Twins. So, Andy, on those key dates, do you have anything specific that kind of stood out to you from the schedule or any of those dates that I mentioned?
Yeah, well, it's the first time so February 23rd is the first time that you can get onto the FanDuel Sports Network app and see how that's all going to play out this year. So that'll be your first opportunity to be their second game.
Cool.
It's against the Astros. So if we hear any drum beating on FanDuel,
listen for the trash cans.
The cans.
Yeah, but I just thought it was interesting. Yeah, so there's 30 games, some split, and then there's a one last one trip against the Memphis.
Yeah,
Redbirds.
that's a tradition.
AAA.
Yeah, kind of on the way up to St. Louis, sort of.
And so you got about half the games televised through FanDuel. A few are on MLB.TV, and the other games are just going to be on radio only. So just out there for people who want to actually consume the spring training games. That's what's going on this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jonathan, anything on the dates?
If you can go to spring training, so I went last year. I did not do this, but I intended to, just never got around to it. If you go there during the beginning, before they start playing games, so February 12th all the way up to the 21st, so about a week and a half, and then they let you on the facility. You can go to they call them the backfields. They look like high school fields. That's what they look like. Yeah, and that's where they practice. You'll see you can go up to like very close, like up to the fence, and like listen to what they're telling them. You get player interactions, coach interactions. You can get them to sign stuff. If you're actually down in Jupiter, you can get a pretty close like experience back in the early days of spring training.
And you might meet Heim Bloom.
Dapped him up. He'll never forget it. I promise.
I know that's the thing that motivates him to get out of bed every day. These Cardinals fans that are dapping him up at spring training. Yeah,
he looked awesome too. He had those little like a little cardigan on, like wrapped around his shoulders. It was great.
Okay, well he's just following the Mo fashion traditions.
That's right. That's right.
Hopefully that's the only traditions of Mo's he follows.
That's true.
Although, listen, we had like 15 years of winning seasons under Mo, so I would take that too for sure.
We did. Mo always does look funny coming out like opening day. He looks so tailored.
He does.
He's so tailored. It's great. Good for him.
He really does. And he speaks in the same way.
Corporate speak. Yep.
Yeah. So as you guys are saying here, in some of these early spring training games, the regulars will just kind of run out there, get an at bat, play a few innings in the field. Again, they're trying to kind of spin things up without getting hurt, get the muscles loose, see some pitches, those kinds of things. So specifically in the first half of the games, and then in the last half of the games, I think you see the regulars start to play more. So when you guys are watching these games, these early ones, and there's just a ton of unknown players out there, what is it that you guys specifically are going to be watching for in these early games?
Andy, what do you think?
I mean, I have a slant on the pitching. So I'll be watching some of our pitchers, how they're looking out on the mound. That's what I am most interested in. Is because if the Cardinals season and the Baby Birds do something, it's going to be letting some of these kids who are going to be hopefully the face of the franchise in terms of the pitching rotation. I'm excited to see what their stuff. Excited to actually watch them pitch. Getting to see them. That's what I'm personally most excited about is our young pitchers. And I'm sure they're going to see lots of action.
Are they ready? Are the Youngry guys ready?
Right.
Yeah. I think it's easier to watch. I was going to say pitching too, Andy, because I think it's easier to see it on this end. Like last year, there can be a lot of false positives on the offensive side. Like Victor Scott number 2 here, Mr. Youngry. Is that what you said?
Youngry.
Man, that's hilarious.
It is. It is.
He smoked the crap out of the ball all spring, and
Yeah.
people thought, oh boy, here we go. He's going to be great for the majors, and he was really really bad at the beginning of the year.
Right.
But when it comes to pitching, right, these guys are only pitching 1, 2, 3 innings max anyway.
Yeah.
So they're coming out then they're really emptying the tank, especially the younger guys. So it's interesting to see their stuff at work. So I agree with you. The pitchers, it's a lot easier to see kind of what you have versus the hitting. I don't really trust the hitting as much. I do trust the pitching some.
Yeah. I can hear it in all of our voices that we are all kind of we're in on the analytical side. This is a big year for making judgments about players. Does Gorman have it? Will Walker develop? Those kinds of things. I think that stuff is happening under the surface in spring training, but I really think what spring training is more for as far as the fans go, is just like, oh, hey, there's Herrera.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
wow. That's Sonny Gray. Just seeing these guys again, just watching baseball for baseball. And if you're still tuning in and it's the 7th inning and like number 87 is running around the bases, I don't think it is like trying to time and clock his first to third time.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure the coaches are doing that. I think for fans, hardcore fans, casual fans, it's just like, oh my gosh, this is my team. They're playing baseball.
Yeah, baseball's back. Yeah.
Yeah. The weather's good. Those kinds of things. It's like legitimately an entertainment product. The record doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what they do, although it's fun when they score, just those kinds of things. Just like, hey, we have baseball back in our lives. This is great. And maybe you look for some stuff, as Andy suggested earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, that's new for that guy. He's really hitting the ball hard. Those types of things, I think sometimes that can peek through. But as far as are we making judgments on guys, I think that's kind of fool's gold as far as spring training is concerned.
Couldn't agree more. Totally with you.
Okay, so we need to talk about what is real and what's not real with spring training.
Okay.
I did some stats lookups, and there is a very low correlation between spring training statistics and regular season statistics, both in terms of wins and losses for teams and individually statistics for players. If you're a math person, a 1.0 correlation is like 100%, right? If they're great in the spring, they're great in the regular season. If they're terrible, they're terrible.
Yeah.
Spring training stats overall for teams and players are like a 0.15 correlation. So it is very, very weak. Sometimes you'll get like a Goldschmidt will stand out. He struggled against certain things and that carried over to the season. But sometimes like he does have a slow spring and then he's like an MVP, right? So it just depends on what's going on, but the correlation is very low. So to you guys, what is real and what is not real in spring training?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question here. We have invested a lot of like players' time at the major league level based on certain spring trainings, right? Like here's a great one, Pujols. Okay. Absolutely nuked spring. That first spring he was here. And he skipped double and triple A, or maybe it was just triple A. He skipped an entire league or two to get to the major leagues. They were dead on with him, obviously.
And God bless Bobby Bonilla and his hamstring. Great job out of him.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
So like that's a great, like, oh my gosh, they nailed that one. Jordan Walker. This is another example. He hit the crap out of the ball a couple years ago, and we're like, he doesn't even need to go to triple A, right? Skip it. Comes up to the big league team, largely struggled.
Yeah.
Right. So to your point of like, what's fool's gold, what's real? I think it is so difficult to like really pinpoint that you really just have to think about spring training from like the coach's perspective. Like, let's say JJ Weatherholt, our new prospect, does really well in the spring. He's hitting pitchers who are in double A or triple A. Okay. Maybe you assign him then to double A instead of single A because he's performed so well. I think that the coaches, it really helps them assign minor league players to their respective leagues. I hope that makes sense. That's how I would view it.
Okay. Andy, go ahead.
No, I like that explanation really well. Like, it's not necessarily, it's too short of a time to make, I cannot fathom that there's making huge decisions like that over the course of 30 games.
Yeah.
That are partial, is quote unquote 30 games. They're not playing the full time. So is it 15 games worth of actual at bats and innings pitched, something like that? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I like that a lot. That they're using that to assign the minor league guys to. I would imagine that Ollie's got his starting lineup pretty much like set.
Yeah, it's in pen, I think, pretty much. Yeah,
I think so too. Yeah. So what I'm hearing you guys say is like, it's good for the coaches to position the Youngry guys. Where is Weatherholt going to report to? Where is Quinn Matthews going to report to? Is that going to be St. Louis or Memphis? One of those kind of things. And it can sometimes foretell some older players where they are going to be at. But like, for instance, for Donovan and Newt Barr, there is basically nothing that can happen to them in spring training, positive or negative, beyond an injury that's going to impact their standing with the team or their spot in the line at all. Like, those guys are set. You're going in with them. Like, you already know that going in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Both of them went to arbitration, by the way. Both those guys. Lars Nootbaar and
Brandon Donovan. They did. And I got a problem with how they handled my boy Donnie.
And they denied Donnie and approved Nootbaar.
Can I just say it should probably be the opposite based on past year's performance, right? I mean, like, really, if you think about it, isn't it last year's performance like that? Anyway, we can get down into
it. Sorry, you brought him up.
So this is ultimately where I wanted to go with this. What's real, what's not real is should spring training impact any decision at all? Because here's what I hear fans say a lot is they'll say, like, we're going to talk about it in a couple minutes. There is like a battle for center field, or there is a battle for starting catcher. And what people will default to is like, well, we'll see how he does in spring training. But again, to Andy's point, like, the guys are only getting X amount of plate appearances. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm tipping my hand here. I just don't know if you can learn anything significantly meaningful from spring training for us to be making long-term decisions about these guys. But I feel like that happens all the time. That's kind of the default phrasing as well. Well, if it gets hot in spring training, we'll have to see how it goes,
Yep, I think that is a bad way to operate. And again, I keep talking about Walker, but that we kind of hurt ourselves there. And we should have said, okay, hey, buddy, you tore the cover off the ball in spring training. We don't necessarily need you to be in St. Louis now. Go do that in AAA, and we'll see you in a month.
And then come back. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, think about every other team. The Orioles comes to mind. You know how they have like 100, top 100 prospects. Really, it's just all the Orioles. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So everybody's clamoring, like, where's Jackson Holliday? Why is he not on the team? Well, there was not an immediate need at that time. And they said, okay, buddy, you smoked it in spring. Now go to AAA and do it for a couple of months. Let's see if it's real for you. Right. And then we'll bring you up whenever you're ready. So I just think the Cardinals, have probably maybe burned ourselves recently with that. I would imagine they're probably going to just start assigning
more conservative with it.
Yes. That's what I think. Andy, do you think, I was going to say, do you think what do you think about that?
Yeah, like, there's just not enough time. There's just not enough time to see what some of these guys are going to do, period.
Got to put them in the minors, don't you think?
Yeah, you got to go see what they're doing. There's absolutely no reason for us to be making any large changes in the spring training, period.
Yeah.
Well, let's use a situation that I think is going to arise on the roster as kind of a case study.
If we say no trade, I'm gonna cry. Okay.
We'll come back to Nolan in just a moment.
Okay, good. I don't have to cry yet. All right.
So I perused an article by Katie Wu in The Athletic, and it was kind of her spring training primer position battle thing is what she was looking at. And to both of your points earlier, there are really not all that many position battles. We kind of know what we're doing with this team going into it, especially now with Arenado on the team. It's just going to make certain choices for us.
Yeah.
But to kind of loop in this conversation we've just had about the limited nature of what you can tell from spring training, let's say in that fifth rotation spot, because I think for sure Gray's in, Palante's in, Fetty's in, Red Hulk, Miles Michaelis is in because we're paying him $18 million.
Yeah.
Let's say Steven Matz is really, really bad in spring training. And let's say Michael McGreevy is really, really good in spring training. Is this conversation different because you do have some history and some track record of McGreevy being good last year at the major league level in a relatively short stint, and you've seen Steven Matz's arm just explode multiple times.
Yeah.
Is that one place where maybe spring training does help us make a decision, or is that off too?
I actually, I think it does, because if McGreevy didn't have the experience in the majors, I think you're probably like, buddy, we'll stash you. And when Matz inevitably implodes in 2 weeks, you're coming up anyway. But it doesn't help McGreevy to be in the minors anymore. He's already proved he can pitch at this level. So I think I would nod towards McGreevy that maybe the spring performance would tip it. Like if Matz is horrible, he can't. If he's horrible, I'd have to think about it.
Just because of the caveat of he has already proven that he's come up at the end of last season
Yeah.
and did it.
But
Right.
what if you do it like what if it was Quinn Matthews? Okay, like I think we all think he's probably going to AAA, right?
Okay.
But
right.
what if he comes up and he just lights the world on fire and he's just striking everybody out and Matz looks horrible? Are you still like, well, Quinn, send you to AAA?
I'm sure they will. Yeah.
I mean,
do I personally, what I personally do?
Yeah, what would you?
Way
I mean,
different.
No, you would embrace the darkness. We know.
I'm starting Quinn Matthews second in the rotation or something.
Yeah.
Give him the openings they start over
Yeah.
Sonny Gray.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's an interesting question. I think I think you guys have kind of changed my mind on this because I think based on our discussion today, I think then what I would do is put Quinn Matthews in Memphis and just tell him, pat him on the butt on the way out of the locker room and say like, look, you're the first up, big boy.
Yeah,
Any of these guys gets hurt or falters or struggles and you're right around the corner. And again, because this season in St. Louis does not have the weight of expectation it normally does, maybe that's okay. Maybe it's okay for him to go get a little more seasoning in Memphis before he comes out. Is that kind of where you're at, Jonathan?
I totally agree. And you said something I failed to mention, which is that the expectations of the team propelled Jordan Walker to the major leagues.
Well,
like
true.
let's not forget, like they didn't do that. They did it because they thought that they saw something, and I still believe that he will.
Yeah, I think I do too.
They were like, "Oh my gosh, if Walker pops like he's done in Double A and now in spring training, we could be World Series contenders."
Yeah, he's
so
our
I
seventh
understand.
hitter. Yeah,
I get why they did it.
Yeah,
but now when you remove that, it doesn't hurt for Quinn to go down there for a month or two, and if he struggles, that's okay. There's no pressing need to bring him up. But if, like you said, one of these guys inevitably gets hurt, or positions opened up, he's right up there. And I think Mo, if you listen to that interview, he kind of alluded to that. What are we going to do with Graceffo? What are we going to do with Roycroft? He mentioned a couple guys by names.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, they're waiting in the wings. When something happens, they're going to be the first ones up. So I think they're tipping their hand slightly. That's likely what they're going to do.
Okay. All right, Andy, get ready to make whatever noise you're getting ready to make because it's time to discuss the Thanos of the Cardinals roster, the inevitable. Like we have to. Okay, so your Nolan Arenado trade update is there's not one. Alex Bregman signed a 3-year, $120 million contract with the Red Sox, which if I'm a Red Sox fan, we can find $40 million for Alex Bregman, but we can't find money for Mookie Betts. Like, get out of here with that.
Boy, couldn't agree more with that.
So that took our most natural trade partner for Arenado off the table. Jonathan's already mentioned some other places Mo said he could go. Okay, Arenado's with the team. All right. So if something changes in spring training, right, there's still opportunities to deal him. Mo, I think, is pretty boldly and openly talking about opportunities to move him.
Definitely.
Right. But I think going forward, we're just going to assume Arenado's on the team. Okay. Which brings us to now we've got a couple position battles that Katie Wu highlighted that are position battles because Nolan Arenado, the Thanos of the team, is on the team. Okay, so let's highlight catching, because I was a little surprised to see her highlight the fact that there's a little bit of a Herrera versus Pages battle. My assumption going into this was that Herrera would get the primary number of starts and Pages would kind of get, maybe he'd be Sonny Gray's catcher or just spell Herrera, that kind of thing. But I guess it's more of an open competition for who is going to play the bulk of catching that I thought. So if you guys are Herrera versus Pages, Andy, let's start with you. Which way are you going or what are you looking for in spring training to let you know which way we should go?
I mean, I'm personally doing some Herrera action. That's where I'm going to go. That's where I'm going to sit. He's going to get the nod
because of the offense.
Yeah. We're going to need some offense.
Yeah, Andy, I'll help your side here. When I listened to the thing from Ali, they said, "What are you going to do about Herrera and Pages?" And he goes, "Man, Herrera can hit," and that's all I needed to know. That's all I needed to know because. I mean, unless Pages came out and lit the ball on fire, but still, it's such a small sample size.
Yep.
Herrera, the only downside to him is the guy, honestly, could take the ball out of his glove and kick it to second base harder than he could throw it.
Yeah.
He cannot control the run game. If that is like horrible in the season, Pages, not that he was like leagues better, is still better. I am surprised. I read that article. I was surprised that was highlighted. I thought this was, like you just said, like Herrera would be, I'm sorry, Pages would be somebody's, catcher. He'd get maybe one start a week or two, and it would be Herrera the rest of the way. Yeah. Is that what you would do, Matt? Would you do Herrera?
I mean, if this is my team, there's nothing that Herrera or Pages can do in spring training to stop me from rolling Herrera out there as much as I can as my starting catcher. Yeah. I was just thinking while you guys were talking, it's too bad we can't just like meld these guys together, because
I know
you'd have like a top 3 catcher in baseball. Like if Herrera hits like he's kind of shown in spurts he can hit with consistent opportunities, and like Pages is kind of known for his defense. Like, man, we really got like. Okay, I'll just say this carefully. We might have something better than Yachty going. Yeah, if we can meld them together.
Yeah, Pedro Herrera might be better than Yachty.
Pedro Herrera. Ivan Pages. Yeah.
Ivan Pages, yeah.
Yeah. The other position battle that Katie Wu highlighted was center field. Ciani, Victor Scott, and maybe because Arenado's on the team, to get Burley's bat in there, as we discussed last week with what we would do with opening day, Nootbaar in center, baby. And we've mentioned Ollie's press conference a couple times. Ollie talks very positively about Michael Ciani. And I have not so far in Ollie's tenure been frustrated because he's got a guy that I disagree there's another player that should play over him. But Michael Ciani might turn into that for me. I don't know.
Yeah, he definitely has that tendency. But I'm wondering, now that you're talking about this, I'm wondering if Scott or Ciani, they're even on the team come opening day. All right, I think that they're gonna lean Nootbaar in center. I really think that's gonna happen. You mentioned that a couple episodes ago, or maybe the one prior. And so then who then from this Arenado like domino effect, the person that would be affected the most is this center field battle, right? Yeah. They're gonna find a way to put Burleson in there.
Thomas the Italian.
Also. But he'll still be on the team.
I still think he can get innings. I think he can be in the mix and get some at bats. Yeah.
But you just need a fourth outfielder, and I think this is the question: do they pick Ciani or do they pick Scott? I bet they put Vic back in AAA and pick Ciani. Unfortunately, I would not do that. I would put everything I had into Vic. But what does it do for Victor to be sitting on the bench the entire time? At least he can get some reps in AAA. I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Nothing. I agree with you. I think I would like to see Victor Scott be the long-term center fielder for the Cardinals. I'd like to have him have the opportunity to do that. But if it's going to be Nootbaar getting the primary reps in center field, which is what I think we should do, then I think that Victor Scott should go to Memphis. And Michael Ciani he's a good fourth outfielder. Like, put him in for defense, and I think that's great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Andy, you've traded all these guys we've talked about already, right?
100%.
Okay. I was just making sure.
So it'll be interesting to see. There are a couple, they're kind of minor position battles to see what's going on. But as far as this goes, if there are no injuries and nobody like tears the cover off the ball or is horrible, the team is kind of like the offseason. The team is kind of set, and we kind of know where this thing is headed, which is an interesting place to run into at spring training.
Yeah. Enjoy some baseball, folks. Enjoy watching.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys, to the Redbird Rundown, your go-to spot for all things St. Louis Cardinals. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show to help us grow the Redbird Rundown community. You can follow us on Twitter at Redbird Rundown 2, on Blue Sky at Redbird Rundown, and find us on Facebook at Redbird Rundown Podcast for all the latest news and more. Until next time, keep those rally caps on. And last walk-off wisdom is don't feed your kids in the middle of a game that they're playing in. Don't do it. Don't feed them a cheeseburger as we're trying to run down the court. That's all. Let's go Cards.
Let's go.